What were we talking about? There's a few different things. Should we talk about the Stephanie's Nike?
Yes.
Thang.
Yes.
Because I did want to bring that up.
What's her dancer name?
Stephanie.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know whether that's her
government or not.
Her government name, but her breaking name is the Putman Show's arrived. Yee! Yo, this is gonna be so disruptive for anyone watching on YouTube. Just like we're responding to people.
No, I think it's good though, because I think if you're watching on YouTube, you get to see that there's an interactive element to our podcast now. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're missing out on this interactive element, you should be in here. Do you know what I'm saying? You know they one's there, cuz.
Put the positive spin on it.
The positive spin, cuz. That was a car screeching. What were you gonna say? Yeah, Stefani.
So Stefani,
Nike.
Do you know much about her? Or not really.
The only thing I know is that she trains with Vanessa.
Sure.
And those two are quite close in terms of like iron sharpens iron, and they both win a lot. And she's been sponsored by Nike now.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
That's flipping sick.
That's been the capsule, guys. See you later. No, Stefani is a BGirl, I think originally from Ukraine. Yeah. Living here, I believe. If she's not living here, she's taken a lot of flights. But yeah, she is part of Primal Instincts crew. Do you know about them?
Primal Instincts crew, that's Spin's crew, right?
Yeah, I don't know who's like the official in charge, but yeah, it's like
they put that crew together like in the last couple months, and they've been tearing.
Yeah. It's like
the scene's a new arsehole.
The Breaking Avengers. But it's a good crew. It's a good fucking crew. They've got a lot of good people in there.
Sheku, Spim.
Yeah. Who else?
Stephanie. I didn't know Stephanie was in it.
Lightfoot. There's a whole bunch. AJ's in it, I think.
Oh shit.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of good breakers in that crew. So Stephanie's part of that. She's been doing pretty fucking well, I have to say. And I think, obviously, she announced, so to cut to the chase, she announced this Nike sponsorship.
Yeah.
I believe it's only her and Karam in the country that are sponsored by Nike. You've got...
That's flipping huge.
Yeah, you got a few others like worldwide, obviously Gilu. There's a podcast that's coming out by myself with Gilu. So check that out. And she talks it's a 2-part podcast. In the second part, she talks a bit about her work with Nike and stuff like that, which is
nice.
Is a really inspiring conversation. And yeah, so
do you know if they're paying them?
The thing is, I think what I learned from Gilu and what you'll learn on the pod is I think every contract is different.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's one standard contract between different types of athletes or different sponsorships.
Yeah, no.
I don't know whether there's one type of contract across all the breakers. There may be.
Yeah.
But I would imagine not, because I would imagine they do different things, hit different markets. So I would imagine there's different types of contracts. I don't know though.
This is a relatively new step for Nike, right? Or am I completely wrong in saying that?
Well,
in sponsoring dancers.
Yes and no. So Kimberly J was Nike sponsored.
Yeah, I know they did that back in the day. Yeah, way back.
And they had something called D-Clash.
Okay.
So it was Clara. Who was even in that crew? Do you remember Natalie from Ireland? McParland.
Yeah. She was sick, man.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of. I think there was only 5-6 of them. I can't remember who else was in it, but D-Clash was like Nike's kind of dance group, and they sponsored them, and then they would go and do shows and work for them and stuff like that. Kimberly J was, I think, Nike's first dance athlete or sponsored dancer. Yeah. So they did that quite a while back, because this was maybe before my time. So I'm thinking like early 2000s, maybe this was going on.
Yeah.
And then they haven't for a while. They tried to do a dance. This is, again, admittedly not a...
accurate.
Yeah, or well-educated point of view. But from
what you know. Yeah.
They did a dance sneaker, which I actually had a pair of. Yeah, it wasn't very good. Well, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I think that's a whole other conversation, but I think dancers don't like to, or our type of dancers don't like to wear things that are made for us, because we
Explain.
So I guess why not? Let's get into it. We are part of a culture that is part of a bigger culture. So we're a subculture, right?
Yeah.
So our thing, it interacts with the other elements of the culture, right? So we do dance, but our dance is done by the music of the culture, and we like, I guess in that way we follow the fashion of the culture. So we kind of follow hip hop fashion and what's going on, right?
I see.
And I think when you make clothes for dancers, it's like we're not allowed to express our connection to the culture through that, because it's almost like recycled air in a airplane. You know, it's like we're dancers, so we're dressing like dancers who are dancing like dancers who are dressing like other dancers. It's like a lot of us, I think, you know, when you're young, obviously you look up to other dancers and you kind of want to buy the same shoes and stuff as them. But the kind of let's say like the active majority of dancers, we want to kind of feel that we can express ourselves and be who we are and wear the brands or the things that's why I think Nike's been really popular, because they've got such wide range and, you know, they're a cultural kind of icon in that way. So, yeah, go on.
Oh, I was saying that, yeah, that's interesting, because that's what happened with Michael Jordan. Like, they were making him wear, I don't know if they were wearing tennis sneakers or what type of sneakers they were wearing before Michael Jordan was like, I'm designing my own basketball sneaker. And that's where all the Jordans and all that high top style came from an actual athlete designing it. So yeah, maybe we get a dancer that actually designs the shoe. Rather than
Menno has some tracksuits
that he designed himself.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Jeez.
And those are the ones that I've looked at and be like, oh, those are actually nice.
Yeah.
And then you obviously have stuff like, I don't know if you know Saul Nash. So you've definitely been at the same battles as him before. He's a hip hop dancer.
Yeah.
Used to do a lot of like big spins and like very athletic kind of movements. He he studied fashion and like designing basically.
Okay.
Went into like kind of was as a graduate was like entered some shit and did some shows. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but basically like he's now a big deal in the fashion world.
Wow.
As a menswear designer who designs clothes that are like allow you to move freely because of his background as a dancer.
Wow.
So now you've got like the two sides of it where it's like, all right, you've got someone from inside the dance world taking dance and the ideas that the clothing needs outside of dance and people love it. And then you've got Nike where they, let's say with this sneaker, where they created something from the outside in. But the thing is, it's like, I don't know, because there's also, just to contradict myself, there's also like Nike SB and that whole range of the skateboarding stuff. Yeah. And that does really well as far as I'm aware with skateboarders.
But do you know who designed the SB?
Well, I don't know. They've probably got a lot of different people.
But it might have been a skater. It might have been someone.
Well, it's a whole range,
community.
isn't it? SB. Like, so they've got clothes, they've got shoes, they've got everything.
But what I'm saying is like the SB range, just like the Jordan range, is all from, you know, it starts with Jordan and then other people from the basketball scene then have their own offshoots. Yeah, true. That could have happened with SB.
Yeah. And I think there's some element of like, say with basketball, there's an element of functionality. Like, I just, you know, I want it to look nice, but I don't want to break my ankles. I want to be able to play well. Like, I think with dance, people will like have bloody feet if it means that they look good. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people wear all sorts of shit.
That's what was happening with Jordan's shoes. Like, the first time he wore his Jordan 1s, they were fucking his feet up.
Right.
But it was good for good for business, so he kept on wearing them.
Yeah. So, I mean, the shoes that they made at one point, I didn't really love. But again, I might not be the right demographic, because there are a certain demographic like dancers that would love a shoe made for dancers, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so then, history of fucking Nike over here. So then, and then we didn't really hear much Nike. They did some little stuff that I'm aware of, like, not completely behind the scenes, but it wasn't like big news stuff. They worked with some dancers on do you remember the Nothing Beats a Londoner campaign?
I think so.
When they had the advert where they were running through London and then someone was like, I have to run through Peckham, and then Giggs was in the commercials. Like, what's wrong with Peckham?
Yeah.
So that whole thing, they worked with some dancers on that, and there was like some of the dancers like had their pictures and stuff in like Town London and stuff. So and then now obviously I imagine as soon as the Olympics were announced, they were like, well, we have to get in there.
Yeah. I think the Olympics has been huge. Yeah, it definitely has been huge in like making companies be. The thing is, like, powerful big companies that make a lot of money, all they want to do is make more money.
Yep.
And the quickest way to make more money and get a monopoly on something or be one of the powerhouses is to be the first on the train before it gets big. So I imagine when breaking got announced for the World Cup, the Olympics, a lot of the companies are now starting to like trying to strike now before it's even happened, so that you know,
and I think
which is good for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll see how it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
And how far those sponsorship go. Obviously, Red Bull have been on it way before these guys. Yeah. Now Nike's there. So you got Karam and Nike and Stefani. Karam and Nike and Stefani. Who are sponsored. And then obviously Sunny is on Adidas and Red Bull.
Ooh.
So there is some bits happening. And I think... it's just interesting because it's like we're seeing people who are maybe like Olympic hopefuls get snapped up, but also people who are really visible and doing a lot of stuff.
Doing a lot, yeah, and very active.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing where it's like, it's not, I mean, this is a general for life, but like it's not enough to be just good.
No.
You know, like I always say this, I've said it on the pod before, but like that, you know, for every one famous dancer, there's maybe like 5 dancers who are better than them, but you've never seen them because they just didn't travel enough or didn't get a name or whatever. And it's like, and similarly, you can not be that good or naturally talented, and you can make the right decisions to get yourself in a good position, if you know what I mean. So I'm not necessarily, I mean, Stephanie, Karam and Sunny are all fucking amazing, but it's like we see a lot of people who are on bigger platforms or with a big name, and it's like, in a culture like this, there is an element of like popularity and visibility. And it's like, if we see you, we like your style, we like your art, you know, it's like, who's to say that there wasn't, I don't know, there wasn't an artist that was like better than Basquiat, but it's like, we liked his stuff. So, you know what I mean? It's like, who's to say that's right or wrong? And I guess if you've got someone like, let's say Sunny, if you've got a breaker from here who's better than Sunny, but we like Sunny better as a general scene, and we like his breaking, I mean, more. Yeah. Then, yes, you could say, oh, he doesn't win as much and blah, blah, but who is the sponsorships going to go to? Because what you really want with someone who you sponsor is influence.
Happens all the time in the fighting game community. There are multiple people who have been sponsored and got bigger money than the best people because they are characters. They bring eyes. They're either doing funny things on stream that make people be like, oh shit, this guy's up next, or you know, they say their interviews are like funny, or they're a heel in the community, so people are out for them, but it means their eyes are on them. So yeah, it's not always you have to win in order to get sponsored, but it's definitely not. You're not going to get sponsored if you sit at home in your boxes, which I think might happen. It happened in the Street Fighter FGC scene, or happens. And
Unless you do a podcast.
Then you might. But that's doing something. True. Like, I don't think that, like, I'm guessing that when this takes off even more than it is now, and people start getting sponsored and getting paid, more people start getting sponsored and paid to do this professionally as a living, you're going to have a lot of people who maybe travel once or twice a year, maybe do okay, get top 16, top 8, and then start complaining that they're not sponsored, or be like,
now.
Or like, why doesn't anyone sponsor me? Or might just like put up an Instagram post, here's my email, I'm a free agent. Like, that's not how it works.
It happens now, but not with sponsorships. Yeah, I'm sure it does, but I haven't seen a lot. But what it happens with is like getting booked for jobs, or getting hired to teach workshops, or getting hired to judge. It's like, oh, why am I not getting hired to judge? I won the last 7 things. Or why am I not getting hired to teach workshops and travel? Because I'm really good. And it's like,
you got to do some networking, man. You got to put your, you got to be professional as well.
It's the same with anything. Even fucking professional footballers and basketball players have PR people who their job is to like make them look good for the public and stuff. And it's like, as much as you want to say like everything should be on merit alone,
that's not how the world works.
Yeah, it's really not how the world works. You know, there are certain people who are like undeniable, so they can get away with a lot of shit and still get hired. But at the end of the day, first of all, if you're going to sponsor someone, you're doing it to make money. If you're not visible, you're not being seen, you don't have influence, and no one really cares what you do.
Why would they invest in you?
I'm like, when Sunny got sponsored by Adidas, there was a little part of me that was like, let me just see what they have. Let me see the trainers that they have. Like, it's just a little bit of a like, and I'm enough into like fashion and my kind of choices that it doesn't sway me too much. But if I didn't,
it had an impact on
it just made me think about, let me reconsider. Maybe they're not so bad after all. Like, and if I had less of a like strong opinion on clothes, it for sure would have made me be like, oh, Adidas, all right, let me go see what they've got on their website, you know? Same with Nike or whatever. But yeah, I think it's like, if you have this influence, I can't remember what my point is, but like if you have this influence, basically like you're going to get more stuff than someone who is good but doesn't have any influence or acts just badly or, you know, whatever the case might be. Yeah,
100%, man. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I just think if the world ran on just people on good merit or whatever, people who were the best for the job would constantly get elected into office or whatever, and it's clearly not happening.
I'm trying to think of somewhere where that happens, because even like, you know, we talk about like nepotism and stuff, right? And I agree to an extent that, you know, it's not the best look in theory, especially like, you know, the whole typical thing of like, all right, you're working in an office and you hire your daughter or whatever to be the next thingy. It is shit, right? But let's take this in a dance context.
Okay.
With like, let's say nepotism, people often complain about going to auditions, right? And they're like, oh, all the other dancers knew the choreographer and they got hired and I didn't because I didn't know anyone, and that's unfair. In theory, yes, that's unfair. In reality, if I'm a choreographer, I'm being hired, right, by this company. So my reputation, my money, my everything depends on how well this job goes and the dancers that I choose. Therefore, if I know you and I know you show up on time every time, you never say a bad thing, you're really professional, I've worked with you 10 times before, and there's someone else who's good, as good as you, maybe even better, but I have no idea, they're a wild card. They could be a crazy person. And we know in the arts, there's sometimes people that go off the rails, right?
Sometimes,
So it happens. So like, regardless, even if that's not the case, they might just show up late a few times. And it's like, I would rather sacrifice a little bit. Okay, Abe's not as good as the other person, but I can trust he's not going to make me look bad. And I think this is where people complain. And it's like, I also see the other side where it's like, I see why these things happen, because you want people that you can trust or whatever around you, you know?
I mean, nepotism is bad if it's like, not bad, but it sucks a bit if someone's getting a shot at a job or an opportunity that they have zero skill in and it's their first time getting a shot.
Yes, right.
But in terms of like, I've worked with this person before and I trust them, happens all the fucking time, man. And I would do the exact same thing if I was in their position. I don't have time to lose money. Like, who are you? What are you doing for me to take a risk or a punt on you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's why you've got to work to be even better than you are.
Yes.
In order to be worth taking a risk on.
Once you're there, then you still have to be professional, but you can take your foot off the gas in terms of networking, and you can start maybe demanding your own stuff or demanding a better contract. But when you're not there and you need them more than they need you, which is most of the time, until you get yourself to a point where you're bringing in your own audience, and if you leave them, you'll be taking your audience with you. Shut up. Shut up and get on with it. It's life, man.
100%. Anyway, all of this to say, Stefani got sponsored by Nike.
Well done, Stefani, for getting sponsored by Nike.
I think it's sick. And I think on an individual level, I'm like super happy. Like, I don't know Stefani too tight. We've spoken a couple of times and stuff, but she looks, she's always been super nice to me. She looks like she's working her ass off and she's doing really well. And I'm a massive fan of that. I like, obviously Sonny and Cram are really nice guys as well. So I'm super happy to see this stuff going to them.
And because I've only seen Stefani dance once. I don't know hardly anything about her apart from that one time I saw her dance. But from that one time watching her dance, and I think she won. It was the Red Bull. I think it was like a Red Bull BC qualifier in the UK.
Could be. This year she came second to Roxy.
Oh really? Oh, then it might have been the year before. Or something she won. Anyway, point being, anyone that spoke about her or anyone that I spoke to about her or whatever, all had high things to say about her. The theme was that she works hard, she's consistent, she shows up, and she grafts and she grinds. for the people that are getting these opportunities first to be sponsored by Nike, they are the type of people that you want to get sponsored first, because they're not going to F the bag up for the next person that gets sponsored.
Yo, this is so important. Yeah, go on.
They're not going to F around so that Nike or Adidas or Red Bull go, yo, we're trialing out this sponsoring dancers thing, and the best person that we sponsored, who's like supposed to be the head of the scene, is fucking us about and it's turning up late. Why are we even bothering with this scene? It's clearly not mature enough. Let's move on to the next scene, or let's move on to the next big thing. You want the people who are professional and about it to get sponsored first, and they are going to pave the way for everyone else. Yeah.
No, but yeah, 100% and fucking well said, man. Like, I think I just watched the Tony Hawk's documentary the other week, and like there were skaters that were better than him, and you know, people that he looked up to, or people that he competed against who would beat him, or who are on a similar level, and it's like they don't go as far. There's one guy in the documentary who's just a bit of a mess, to be honest, but like these people who are, it's not like we were saying, it's not just about how good you are, it's about how well you present yourself and how professional you are and stuff like that. And that is where, like, Tony Hawk being who he is and behaving the way he is and being doing how well he's done, has probably done so much for like countless other skaters, right, that could follow on, because like you said, like they test it, they go, okay, what's our analysis of the dance scene in general? So now we've got like people all over the world between like Red Bull, Adidas and Nike, right? We've got all like Lilu and even like Gilu and whoever else they've got on this thing, right? And then in the UK you've got Stefani, Karam and Sunny, right? Yeah. If the general consensus at Nike headquarters is this ain't worth it, like the dance scene is gonna tank, like people are like this bubble that's growing is gonna go shit. Like we've seen that like Red Bull are kind of pulling away from the scene. Everybody we meet is a mess. Like they're just, the money's gonna dry up. They're gonna stop caring, and they're gonna stop putting it into it. If everything seems to be growing and doing well, and everyone in the dance scene that they meet and talk to is super professional, super like hardworking, and like they grow. Like Sunny, I think, is a great example of this. And I don't want to speak for him, so this is like a complete outsider opinion, but since Sunny started working with Red Bull, he's like rose to the challenge like a fucking champion, in my opinion. Like he obviously was a kid before. I mean, he's still young now, but he was a kid before. But like he's like gone from like just a kid that's like in the culture and you know, hanging around, battling and, you know, having fun. Yeah. And in my opinion, now he's behaving like a professional athlete. Yeah. And I don't think he behaved like a professional athlete so Red Bull like sponsor. It's like he grew with the sponsorship and with working with them and being in these circles. He's like, oh, okay, I have to work hard. I have to do this. I have to stop whatever, you know, and like working on what I have to do and, you know, bouncing back from injury like he did and stuff. It's like you don't just miraculously come back from an injury, even if you've got Red Bull helping you out. You have to put the work in. Yeah. 100%. Especially to come back on the stuff that he's doing. So it's like that's not easy mentally or physically. No. So I think people do grow with these things, and if they do, and if they meet the challenge, and if they behave professionally, speak nicely, write fucking good emails, or you know what I mean, like, and do the hard work, and on top of that have their influence and still keep active. It's fucking hard, but it means that Nike are gonna go, okay, cool, like Sunny's 38, Karam's 40, whatever, you know, like who's our next generation of people that we need, and then they'll look again for the new people, right? But it's like if they do this sponsorship, like that was more fucking trouble than it was worth. Yeah, no one else is getting anything. Sponsored. Yeah. No. So yeah, it's a super important. Maybe that's what happened with Nike before. Maybe Nike, you know, they sponsored Kimberly J. Kimberly J was great, and then no one else really rose to the occasion. They're like, right, we're not just going to keep doing this for one person. Yeah, let's get out of the scene. And they've come back to it, and they're like, okay, cool. This scene seemed to have matured a little bit. Yeah, and I think there's the scene was a lot smaller and a lot less competitive then. Yeah. And I think there's a difference maybe between like one person being a figure that they could use for their adverts and stuff like that, as opposed to them investing in an entire scene. Yeah, because it's like, I think, say with like maybe, I don't know, say with something like skateboarding where it's its own culture, and like basketball or whatever, there's a whole culture, there's people that follow everything, and it's like dance as the let's say like the people it produces. Now and then there's some really cool people, so like you have like fucking Salah or Kimberly J or Nagin or some of the, or Junior, these people that are like, anyone from any walk of life could be like, oh, these people are fucking sick, right?
Yeah.
But with, let's say, again, going back to skateboarding, now what you have is not individuals. You don't have, like, yes, you have Tony Hawk, but you don't have, as skateboarding, the average person doesn't know like 2 or 3 skateboarders, right? Yeah. They know like that skateboarding is a culture, and that it has its own style. Yeah. And if you said describe a skateboarder, before, like way back, like maybe like in the 90s or something, people would have said, oh, Tony Hawk is kind of that kind of guy. Tony Hawk, and they ride on boards. Now it's like, okay, they wear Vans, they do this, they have this sort of music, they have this sort, they always use the fisheye look, or they're like Stussy. Like you have some idea of the brands and things and music and stuff that the culture associates with, right? Yeah. And that's what I think the brands will invest in, because that's cool. And if you, like me, I love skateboarding culture, and I am shit at skateboarding. I spent 2 weeks doing it in lockdown, and that's it. So, but I like copy what skaters wear. I watch skateboarding videos. I listen to music I hear on skateboarding videos, and it's like, that's who skateboarding sponsors are selling to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's
I think
working.
If dance becomes that culture where you get, and this is kind of partly the idea behind the capsule, is like creating this infrastructure and these, where skateboarding had the magazines, we might have the podcast or the online magazines or whatever. But it's like, if we kind of create that culture that other people, even if they're not a part of it, still can have ins and look at and be like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like what Le Twins did, right? Le Twins is a great fucking example. They created the start of that, where people were copying how they dress, and normal people wanted to watch their dance videos. If we have a whole scene full of that, we're going to be like pumped with money. You know?
And it's, like I said, it's a scene that already has so many eyes on it. Yeah. Just so many eyes outside of the scene are looking at dance videos from all around the world, and they're racking up. It's incredible amount of views, because it goes hand in hand with the most popular music, hip hop. That people are listening to. So it's going to have tons of eyes on it. My style is very much predicated on, I'm very loud. I wear very loud things. So I don't know if you can tell.
You look fucking fantastic.
That's from dance. That's from coming into the scene and seeing everyone has their own style, and people are proud to be who they are. And so I was like, right, I'm going to be loud because that's what I like to be, and I'm going to, show off my style and show off my. And I go outside of the dance scene and wear the stuff that I wear, and people are like, "Where'd you get that from?" Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have the confidence to rock that, and it's like, oh man, I just put this on because this is what I've been doing all my life. But that's from the scene. That's from watching. It's cool. Yeah. It's what fucking hip hop is, man. It's what the dance scene is. It's cool. You're just supposed to look cool. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, all in all,
well done,
it's
Stefani.
very well done, Stefani. Well done, Nike. It's a positive. It's a positive look. Again, it's just another step in the right direction, man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and to everyone that.
Just quickly.
Go on.
Whilst you're on it, you were talking about like people fumbling the bag.
Yes.
I didn't know this. Well, I do now, but I didn't know at the time. LeBron James wasn't the best basketball player when he was coming out of high school.
Oh, really?
There was, like Carmelo Anthony, LeBron, like Dwayne Wade, they all like were coming out at a similar time, and there was this one guy who was fucking the best. Everyone knew he was the best, and because of that, and he had all the eyes on him, and because of that, he didn't work as hard, fumbled the bag, and now he's broke. I think they did a documentary on him last year, or they were filming a documentary on him, but like everyone, like LeBron, Carmelo, you ask all of them, they go like, yeah, that guy was supposed to be the future, but he effed up because he took his foot off the pedal.
Interesting.
So yeah, don't take your foot off the pedal. Follow the blueprint. If you're a dancer in the scene and you want to get better, the blueprint is being set by your elders, and they're doing a good job.
Yup. And always keep in mind your marketing and your PR.
Brand, yeah.
Your Insta is not a personal diary. It's you, especially if you're trying to get sponsored.
Yo, what is that about? It's like, I've never seen something that, I mean, I get it. It makes you want to share personal information, but that's not what those platforms are supposed to be for. Like, the more personal stuff you show, the more limited you are as a brand, I feel, anyway.
Well, yeah, if you're thinking about yourself as someone that's trying to get picked up by sponsors and stuff, you have to be careful about
Yeah. If you're just anyone, then you can be like, right, my mum follows me, my auntie followed me, look, I'm eating fish and chips. But if you're a professional dancer, maybe limit or think, at least have a thought about what
think
you
about
post.
what it's saying about your brand.
Yeah.
Should we do some questions?
Let's.